Let's pivot now to the Buccaneers schedule. We mentioned they start the year the same way they did last year, facing the Cowboys, but it's Buccaneers at Cowboys this year instead of Cowboys-Bucs, which was the season opener. Great game to start the season. Peter, what stands out to me early in the slate, they go to the Saints for week 2, and that's not even a 4:25 game. That's a 1 o'clock cluster game, and I think the NFL is trying to dilute the cluster of 1 o'clock Eastern games, and I know you still want to leave some decent games there, but I was very surprised. When you consider that the Saints are 4-0 in the regular season against the Tom Brady Buccaneers, that game doesn't have a bigger platform, especially early, before we know whether or not the Saints without Sean Payton are going to be any good. Just like the Seahawks dynamic, we don't know if they're going to be good. I think they are, and I think they'll give the Bucs a run for their money. And I'd rather have that game at 4:25 or in a primetime window.
Hey, look, I looked at the Bucs schedule last night, and Mike, not only in the regular season are the Bucs with Tom Brady 0-4 against the Saints. Okay, but there's two other factors to consider. The closest one of those 4 games was a 9-point margin. They haven't even played close games in the regular season. Now, there was obviously the playoff game where the Bucs won at New Orleans, and so you count that, but still, Tampa Bay with Tom Brady is 1-4 against New Orleans. And if you look at the way New Orleans has plotted this offseason, you know what they've done? They have said, we are a top 5 defense. We are going to come back. We made the defensive coordinator the head coach. We have great chemistry on this team right now. We patchworked the quarterback together all last year and still played competitively all year. Now we got the guy who would normally be the number 1. He's back. Yeah, maybe he's not Johnny Unitas. Maybe he's not Drew Brees. But we think with Jameis Winston, we're going to be in this thing the whole way. And then you know what they did, Mike? They moved heaven and earth, and they sold everything. In my column this week, I wrote about how, when you look at it, how insane the Chris Olave move-up was for them. To go from 16 to 11 to get Chris Olave. On the Jimmy Johnson points board, the number 11 pick basically is worth 1,200 points. And what they traded for him was over 1,900 points. To go get Chris Olave. And they did that because they want to have a great receiver group on day 1 this year. And I only say all that if we could put up the Tampa Bay schedule one more time, because there's one other point to make about the importance of the Tampa Bay game in week 1. All right, so you say, at Dallas, that is really going to be a tough one. If you lose, you still got 16 games left. Wait a minute. You can't beat the Saints. Then you're playing the NFC champion 2 years, almost NFC home field team 2 years in a row at home on a temperate day, by the way. And then you're playing Kansas City. I mean, I'm just saying, what can the Bucs realistically hope to be after 4 games? If I'm Jason Light, if I'm Todd Bowles, I'm just mentally saying to myself, look, it's not going to be a disaster if we're 2-2. And look, it won't be great if we're 1-3, but we'll still be in it. That is a really tough opening schedule for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then they've got the Falcons, a game they should win, but who knows? Who knows what to expect with teams like the Falcons this year, because they're in the process of baking something, and we don't know whether or not it's going to rise. Week 6 at Pittsburgh is another 1 o'clock Eastern game. There's 2 of them that stand out. Those are Buccaneers games that should be 4:25 p.m. Eastern games if they're not going to be primetime games. And I don't know whether the Bucs asked somebody for a favor here. Like, look, you're going to use this 5 times in primetime. Can we minimize the number of times we're at 4:25 p.m. Eastern? It's just odd to me because that is a prime opportunity to slide into one of those big windows. And Bucs, Steelers, Tom Brady back in Pittsburgh? Are you kidding me? That's a huge game. I'm stunned that the
Mike,
week 2 and week 6 games are 1 o'clock Eastern kickoffs.
Well, Mike, how about this? If we had times up on this schedule, that's the thing. So all I do is I look at all 32 teams and I say, okay, what stands out? Make a few notes. Tampa Bay having 4 1:00 games in the first 7 weeks is weird. Just weird. I don't know why it happened. I don't know why it fell that way. And maybe it's because at the end of the season, they're almost always in either a doubleheader or a primetime window. So I get that, but I noticed the exact same thing as you. I mean, you look starting at Baltimore in week 8 and look at those games Eastern time. 8:15, 4:25. Then you've got the game in Munich, which is 9:30 in the morning. But then you get the bye week, 1:00 against Cleveland. But then 8:15, 4:25, 4:25, 8:20. So they are really backloaded with national TV games late in the year. And Mike, can I say one other thing about these 9:30 window games on Sunday morning? I think there's a little bit of a strategy for the NFL going into these games that are going to be at 9:30 in the morning. Have you noticed that on this schedule this year, you've got the Green Bay Packers playing a 9:30 a.m. game, 8:30 in the Wisconsin market, okay? That's 8:30 in the morning there. Have you noticed the Seattle Seahawks have got, the 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m., on the West Coast? Have you noticed Tampa Bay has one of those games? I'm only making this point. And look, they've been trying to get Green Bay to go overseas for 100 years. So they had to wait till they get the 17-game schedule, the 9th home game, because now they've still got an 8-game home schedule at Lambeau Field, which is what Mark Murphy and his team have fought so hard for. But I think it's really, really interesting that the NFL looks at the 9:30 game as a new window to try to say to America, get used to something new. Because we aren't just putting Jacksonville and Houston at 9:30 in the morning so we can throw away a Jacksonville game. We're not doing that. We are going to put some good teams. How about next year when either New England or Kansas City plays in Munich and plays at 9:30 in the morning? I'm just telling you, the NFL views this as an expansion of the empire.
Oh, absolutely. And look, more windows, especially with legalized betting, more opportunities for people to focus on fewer games and removing games from the cluster of 1 p.m. Eastern kickoffs. That's what the NFL is trying to do. And all of those games in Europe this year start at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. There used to be at least one or more than one in the window at 1 o'clock, a night game in London. They're all the early start for us, middle of the day for them.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.